How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Pei Beis, Daf 82 of Masechta Ksubis, friends. Who could tell me what Daf Pei Beis talks about? Well, I don't know, what is it talking about? Let's see. What was it about? The Ksubis. Yeah, the Ksubis. Yevama. Oh, yeah. Dude, what the heck is Yevamis doing over here? I thought we were done with Yevamis. Apparently not. Yevamis. Well, if we've done it once before, we could do it a second time. Let's go weiter. Says the Gemara about 7-8 lines into the page and Daf Pei Beis. Oh, by the way, we finished the 8th parak today. Exciting stuff. Start the 9th parak. Why is somebody honking? Don't they know I'm recording Babylon Talmud? Okay, says the Gemara, 7-8. But seriously, why are they honking? That's an interesting design challenge. How might we make a car horn that doesn't honk? Now that is a good idea. A car horn that doesn't honk. I would love that. Now that is an interesting design challenge. Redesign the car horn. When's the last time the car horn was redesigned? It's just always been the same thing. You press this thing and this annoying sound comes out. There's definitely an opportunity there to disrupt the car horn. Let's go weiter. Alright, so says the Gemara, oh man, that's a good idea. Alright, there was a certain fellow. Okay, so, alright, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Sarah, Hillel, Lester. Let's go weiter. Alright, we gotta get serious now. So Reuven was married to Sarah. Reuven dies. Shimon wants to do Yibum with Sarah. Levi doesn't want Shimon to do Yibum with Sarah, so he's going to throw a get to Sarah so that, Levi says, well, if I can't do Yibum with her, nobody's going to do Yibum with her. So he throws a get over there, and then, if she has the get, so then she receives the get, then nobody can do Yibum. So it was Mata Mechasya. Mata Mechasya is where Rav Ashi was. Now, Reuven died. Shimon's going to do Yibum with Sarah. Now, Levi thought he's just going to chuck a get, I guess, towards Sarah, and I guess what does it mean? If it's like closer to her, maybe? I don't know. Whatever it is, if she ends up receiving that get, so then neither Shimon nor Levi will be able to do Yibum. Amar Le, so Shimon says to Levi, my daitich, what are you getting all worked up about? Imishum nichse, if it's because of, because I'm going to be inheriting Reuven and you want to chaper anoichet, so then anu benichse pligonalach, I'll just split it with you. Amar Le, so Levi says, Mistafino davadet li kedavid pumpedisaya ramoya. So Levi says, yeah, but I'm nervous. I don't trust you, basically. I'm nervous that you're going to do what the sneaky Pumpadean did. That apparently Pumpadeans were very, very sneaky. Interesting. I mean, who was from Pumpadisa? Rabba, Rav Yosef, Abaye, Rave, Rav Yehuda. Apparently Pumpadiseans were very sneaky people. Pumpadisa is Fallujah. You know what Fallujah is? Go on YouTube. Omerle, right? So therefore, Levi says, I'm nervous you're going to be sneaky, and you're not going to give me the half of the property of Reuben's estate that you're promising. Omerle. So Shimon says, Ibai is ploglach me'ashta. Well, if you want, I'll give you half of it right now, even though he hasn't now. The thing is, he hasn't yet done Yibum yet, so he hasn't yet inherited Reuven, but I don't know, somehow he promises him stuff from now. Amar Marbar Avashi also. Rav Ashi's son Marbar Avashi says, Afagavdichi also Rav Dimi, even though when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babel, he said, Amar Rav Yochanan, the name of Rav Yochanan, Omer Lachavero, that if somebody says to his friend, Lechem Shoch Parizo, Right, so he says let's use Reuven and Shimon. Obviously, we're talking about a different Reuven and Shimon. Reuven and Shimon in this case of a cow. So Reuven says to Shimon, Lechem shoch parazo, go and pull this cow, make a kinyan on it. But it will only actually belong to you in 30 days from now. So after 30 days, it belongs to Shimon. Even if at the time it's not in Shimon's domain, it's just grazing by a swamp, doesn't matter. If he pulled that cow and made a kinyan on it, it can kick in at a later point. So even though that works by the cow, it will not work here when Shimon says to Levi regarding the Yavama that, I'll give you part of, I'll split. I'm sorry. Over here where Shimon says to Levi that he's going to split Reuven's estate with him, it does not work because Hasan biyado achala biyado. Because when it comes to the cow, Shimon was already able to pull the cow and make the kinyan now, and right, so that was able to happen. But over here, Shimon. So we're using all the same names. I'm sorry, but over here, like the brothers, right? Shimon the brother didn't yet do Yibum yet, so he didn't actually have the property to be able to promise to Levi. Also Ravin, Rabbi Yochanan, but 1 second, when Ravin came, he said the name of Rabbi Yochanan Lo Kani, that with regard to the cow, when he pulls it now, he's not kona in 30 days from now. Lo kasha, it's no question. Hada amarle knimei achshav, hada lo amarle knimei achshav. Well, it depends what the condition was, what the deal was. If in the case of the cow, Reuven is saying to Shimon, pull it, and by doing so, you will own it immediately. Meaning, in 30 days from now, you will own it from right now. So say that's okay. But if he says that in 30 days from now is when you're going to own it, and you don't own it, you will never have owned it from now. So then it will not work. From Ula. So now what if Shimon, now back to the case of Yevamis, sorry I'm making everything confusing by using all the same names, but what do you want me to tell you? These are the names we got. So, in the case of Yevamis, when Reuven dies, now you have Shimon and Levi who are fighting over Sarah. Sarah must feel really good. So, so what if Shimon does Yibum? So now, by doing Yibum, he inherited Reuven's property. Can he now give half of it to Levi? Loss of Loklum. The answer is that it doesn't work. Chilek, excuse me 1 second. Chilek ve'achar kach yibem mau. What if he first divided it up before doing Yibum, and then he does Yibum? Will Levi own half of it? Loss of Loklum. The answer is no. Maskif of Sheshus, if Sheshus asks Akash, he says, I don't understand. If we said in the first part, we said in the Reisha that if he first does Yibum and they're actually married, and then he gives half of Reuven's property to Levi, it doesn't work. Obviously, if he first divided up before he had even done Yibum with Sarah, he wouldn't, it wouldn't work. He wouldn't be able to divide it up at that point when they haven't even done Yibum yet. So, Shnei Maisim Havu, the Gemara says, yeah, there were two separate incidents. That they were responding to. Meaning, we're not saying two separate halachos, because if we're just saying the halacha, then obviously if he first did Yibum and then divided up, it didn't work. So certainly if he divided up before having done Yibum, it would not work. That's obvious. But no, there were just two incidents that happened. In one incident, he had first done Yibum and then divided up. In the other incident, we were talking about where he had first divided up and then done Yibum, but and the halacha in both cases was that it doesn't work. But if we were just stating halachis, so we wouldn't have to state both. But they were just we're referring to two real life stories that happened, and these were the stories that happened. Kiyasa Ravin, when Ravin came, Amar Ishlakish, he says the name of Ishlakish, Ben Yibim v'chakach chilek, ben chilek v'chakach yibim, whether he first did Yibum and then divided up the estate, whether he first divided up the estate and then did Yibum, loss of loklum, he did garnished, nothing, loss of loklum, and the halacha is, you didn't do anything. Alright. That's good. Weiter. So we said in the Mishnah that the when Reuven dies and Shimon now is does Yibum, so the fruits that were connected to the ground belongs to Shimon. Amai, why does it belong to Shimon? All of Reuven's property is Meshuba to Sarah's Ksubah. Rish Lakish says no. So say not that it belongs to him, but it belongs to her. Okay. If he marries her, so then she's considered his wife, right? So Shimon does Yibum with Sarah. They're now husband and wife. What? Okay, what do you mean? Obviously, they're married. It means that, well, now that they're married, right? So Reuven died, Shimon does Yibum with Sarah. Now that they're married, he can divorce her and remarry her. Migarsha beget pshita. Obviously, if they get separated, they're going to need a get. They're married now. Ma'odetema yabamev taught to say v'yibma amar achmona v'adayin yibumin arishonim aleh. I might think that even after they do yibum, still, right? Yibum is still relevant to the extent lotiske la beget el bachlitza, that he would have to do chalitza. Kamash Milan. Then no. Once they do yibum, they break it up with a get. Machzira, and then he would be able to get remarried. Pshita, obviously, if they get divorced, they can get remarried. Well, Ma'odetema, I may have thought to say mitzvah d'Rama Rachmana ole avda. I may have thought, look, Shimon is marrying his brother's wife, which he's not allowed to do, right? That's classic Yivamis right there, right? The whole chiddush of Yivamis is that you're not allowed to marry your brother's wife. But in the context of Yivamis, you are. But I might think that if he did Yibum, and then he got divorced, so the mitzvah of Yibum is done. It's over. So now she should be also to him because she was married to his brother. They already did Yibum. That's already been done. They got divorced. So you should have to do, maybe Shimon should not be able to remarry Sarah. Kamaj Malon, that they can get remarried. Maybe I'll say no, maybe they cannot get married for that exact reason, because it's his brother's wife. Amakra, the Apostle says, V'lachalo le'isha, that that they do Yibum, and then she is his wife, that once they get married, once they do Yibum, they're married, it's his wife. If they get divorced, they can get remarried, obviously assuming that he's not a kohen. Now her ksubah of Sarah is going to be the ksubah from Reuven. There's no new ksubah for Shimon. My time, how come? Well, because Shimon wasn't planning on marrying Sarah. Crazy story happened. Reuven died. All of a sudden now he's got another wife. They're not going to make him be Meshaibed, to do a whole new ksuba. Just, use the ksuba that Reuven had written for Sarah and his property and all that kind of stuff. Now, if he doesn't have, I assume it means that if he doesn't have any property, if Reuven doesn't have anything in his estate, so Isla Misheni, so then Shimon needs to guarantee a ksuba. Because the whole point of the ksuba is so that he'll think twice before getting divorced, since there's going to be, there's going to be a financial liability, and therefore he's not just going to divorce his wife at a whim. So, but if Reuven has no estate or whatever, and Shimon is not on the line for anything, so then it might, he might just not think twice about divorcing her. So therefore, we say that, what do we say? So therefore, if Reuven doesn't have an estate, so then Shimon needs to write her a ksuba. He should not say to her that here is your, I'm setting this aside as your ksuba, now I'm going to go sell the rest of Reuven's property. And then we say, and similarly, don't do this for a husband and wife, a non-yibum husband and wife should not do this either. So why do I need to say that? Obviously, he shouldn't do that. So Ma'odetema may have thought to say, well, because when it comes to Yibum, Shimon didn't write her a ksuba, right? He's relying upon Reuven's ksuba, and therefore, since Shimon didn't write her a ksuba, if he's just setting aside, saying like, look, this is going to be your ksuba, so then she might be nervous. What happens if something happens to this money? And he never, right, says, he never committed to dikanoi v'dikanina, right? In the ksuba, it says that which, any property that I have bought and any property that I will buy, is meshuba to this ksuba. But since he's not writing her a ksuba by Yibum, so there isn't such security. And therefore, if he's setting aside money for Ksuba, she's worried about, but like what if something happens to that money? There's no guarantee that there's going to be land to back it up, to guarantee it. So therefore, I might think that Dafka by Yibum, he shouldn't be, setting aside money for Ksuba. But by marriage, but by marriage where there was a ksuba and he did write that anything that I have bought or that I will buy will be meshubad, so maybe ema samcha daita. So I might think that she feels okay, she feels secure, she feels that, okay, so even if something happens to the money, then there's still, land to guarantee it. Kamaj Malon, no, even so he still shouldn't do that. Gersha ein lo el ksubaso. Now, if they get divorced, so then there is the ksuba from Ruvain. Gersha in lo, right? Meaning, if they get divorced, so then she gets her ksuba, and then he could sell the property of Ruvain, right? So meaning, so Shimon does even with Sarah. So if they get divorced, so then she receives the ksuba from Ruvain's estate, and then Shimon can do whatever he wants with the rest of it. Gersha in lo, gersha lo. So Kamash Malon Kidirib Abba, right? They're saying that Dafka, if they get divorced, so then he could sell Reuben's property. But if they don't get divorced, then he cannot sell Reuben's property. And it's teaching us like Reb Abba, who said that's exactly what he had said. I believe, I don't know, recently. What did you say? Yesterday, whatever. That they get divorced, and then. I don't even know where I am anymore. There it is. Pay out yesterday's daf. Right, it says that that if he's a Yisrael and he wants to sell Reuben's property, that then he gets divorced and sells the property, and then remarries her. Okay, fine. Now, once they get remarried, so then there is the ksube of there's a ksuba from Ruvain. So says the Gemara, what's it teaching us? Tanina, we already learned in the Mishnah, that if somebody gets divorced, and then he gets remarried, Amanas ksuba rishona machzira. He remarries her based on the initial ksuba, right? So if you have a guy who's married, gets divorced, gets remarried, so they rely upon the initial ksuba. So here also, right, if Shimon does Yibum with Sarah, then they get divorced, then they get remarried, so they're still going to rely upon Ruvain's ksubah. So Ma'adatem, I may have thought to say, Ishto hu de'ihu kosavla ksuba minei. Well, I might think that, a non-Yibum marriage, that, the husband is writing the ksuba and then they get divorced, then they get remarried, so they're still going to rely upon the same ksuba. Ava yivimto, but when it comes to Yibum, telo ihu kosavla, he didn't write the ksuba, right? Shimon didn't write, the ksuba, they're relying upon Ruvain's ksuba. So echad the gersha ve'ahadra, so if they get divorced and they get remarried, ema ksubasa mine, kumash malan. I may have thought to say that if they get remarried, so then Shimon should write a new ksuba. Kumash malan, that he doesn't. Reviewda says Reviewda Barishona initially. So initially, there, once upon a time, there would be for a Basula, of course, it would be Mana. For an Almana, it would be Masayim. The opposite. For a Basula, it would be Masayim, and Almana would be Mana. But then it says, Vayimazkinin, and the men would grow old, they wouldn't get married because the woman wouldn't want to marry them. Until Shimon ben Shatach came. And said all of the husband's property is meshubad to the ksuba. Meaning, what was happening was the women didn't want to get married because there was no guarantee for the ksuba. What happens if the guy drops dead? What happens if they get divorced? What are they gonna, they're gonna be left without any money. So, and therefore, out of concern for that, they just weren't getting married, and the men were just getting old. And then, I guess. That isn't what we wanted. So therefore, what they did was they said, the ksuba is we're gonna make all of the guy's property meshuba to the ksuba, so that the women feel secure that if anything happens, they'll be able to receive their ksuba, and that was that. And then everybody was getting married. There were lots of simchas, and it was very lebedik. Says the Gemara, Tanya Nami Ochi, what did the Yentis in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon do in those days? Now that is interesting. Yeah, the Yentis in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon, they were probably, they probably also weren't getting married. That's probably about the worst thing you can do as a Yenta in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon. You know, like they love chasanas. But if the accepted thing to do was not to get married, they wouldn't get married. But probably what they would want is just to remedy it, like Shimon ben Shatach did with the, making the achrayas for the Ksubah, and then the chasanas come back, and then they have what to do. They go to a chasana, take home a few challah rolls, and put it in their purse. And then they could talk about it, how beautiful the chasana was in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon. We also learned in a price like this. Barshona initially, are you kozim the b'sulam asayim v'lamana? For b'sula there would be 200 zuz. For an amana it would be 100 zuz. V'ayumazkinim v'lo'ayu nosin nashim. And the men were getting old and they weren't getting married because the women didn't feel secure that they were actually going to receive their ksubah payment because there was no guarantee for their ksubah. So what they said was, you know what? Let the husband take out the money of the ksubah and basically put it aside, and they would store it in her father's house, and that way, in the event of divorce, the money's already been set aside, and then there's no concern that she won't get paid. But then the opposite thing happened. Well, now what was happening is, it's not that the women didn't want to get married, they were getting married, but then the husband would get upset, and you know what he would say? You know what? I already set aside your ksubah, is waiting for you at your father's house, just go there and leave me alone. I already set it aside, just take it. So then they changed it, they said, keep it in his house. So at least it feels like it's more of his, and that, he wouldn't just say, go, get out of here and take the money, because I guess he would feel the loss more. When it was at her father's house, he already doesn't have it anyway, so he'd say, you know what, just go back to your father and take the money and leave me alone. Right? But so they said, keep it in his house, so at least, it would feel more the loss. So ashiros, hayu also kalatos shel kesef v'shel zov. So the wealthier woman would keep the ksubah money in things made out of gold and silver. Anios, the poor families, hayu also ovid shel mimir aglaim. They would put the money in a urinal. V'adayin shekois aleh omer lo tli ksubasech utzi. And still, though, the same thing was ultimately he would get upset and he would say, take your urinal and get and get out of here. Until Shimon ben Shatach came v'tikein and established Yukosev law, and that he would write into the ksubah that all of my property is guaranteed for the ksubah. And then it's not like he was already setting aside all the money. It's just his property. He knew that he has his property right now, and as long as they stay married, it stays his, right? And he can use the property, whatever. But in the event of divorce, he's going to have to, that property is going to guarantee the ksubah, and then, he was less tempted to, he's not just going to say, take your money and get out of here, because he'd never set aside the money, just all of his property is meshubah to the ksubah. Well, that was Daf Pei Beis of Masechta Ksubis. So, I don't know, what do we even talk about today? I don't know, we talk about stuff related to Yivamas and stuff, and dividing up the, Shimon wanting to divide it up with Levi. I don't know. What am I to tell you? Friends, tomorrow we start the 9th parak of Masechta Ksubis. Pei Gimel. Yeah, we're really flying. Peace out.